Tuesday night, we're back.
Yeah, you sound like you can't believe it.
I like your. You look like you're playing tennis in a maximum security prison.
Maximum security?
Minimum. I should have gone with.
What do you think I got arrested for?
Insider trading.
I love it.
That was the less offensive one. I had another one locked and loaded, but it actually would have segued perfectly into this joke. Airport security. No, you know what? I just got back from Cincinnati and I was going through security.
Right.
I've been randomly selected my last 5 times.
Yeah.
For additional screening.
Yeah. I randomly selected every single time.
You do?
Absolutely.
And they touch you inappropriately, right?
So they touch me, they go through my hair. They do every possible test they can run. They look inside my mouth, take x-ray, every single thing. I know them by now. Like, I feel like I go there, I'm like, hey Marissa, hey Scott, how are the kids, what's up?
They go in your mouth.
I don't know what's legit and what's just them having a good time, but I got to get to Milwaukee, so I let them do whatever they want.
Did they find any of the jokes that got cut in your mouth? Yeah, I got randomly selected. They're like touching me down. It's aggressive.
Sure.
I got angry. I got really angry. He was like, as I got angry, he goes, "It's random."
Right.
And I said, I was like, "You're chubby." That's what I said to him. And he was like, "What?" And I was like, "I have Tourette's. It's random." That's what I said back to him. That's not really. What actually happened was I took his abuse, and then I thought of that joke 10 minutes later. That's what happened. I thought that would play well. We got an amazing show coming up.
Yeah, it's a good one.
We got Ken Danyeko.
Yeah, man. Huge. Love him. Mr. Devil.
Mr. Devil.
Yeah.
One team, his whole career.
Yeah.
He was the toughest dude.
Yeah.
This guy's lost more teeth than a Waffle House waitress. He's a bad man.
Isn't that so funny?
Him.
Nobody cared when we were talking about airport security, but you mentioned a Waffle House waitress. This place lights up.
You were a great player. Now you're a broadcaster. Do they ever come to you mad about how you critique them?
Well, they're still a little scared of me, even the young guys today.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know I'm getting older, but no, so they don't come to me. No, all kidding aside, look, I try to look at it like when you work for a team, it's a little different. When you're have to be with them on the plane, around them, in the dressing room, you want to be honest. You don't have to be brutally honest.
Yeah, there are guys who played, though, who aren't as diplomatic as you are. I mean, like Charles Barkley played. I guess he's on the national.
But you know what? Charles does a good thing. He is that guy that really, I love him, and he loves hockey, by the way. So that's how can you not love him? And he loves the Stanley Cup playoffs, and he talks about it all the time. So he's great for promoting our sport. Yeah, he's certainly, but he's unique. He's a special personality that he gets away with it, and he can do it, and he does it well.
He's a guy that always will say, like, this generation doesn't have it like we have it. And we were just talking about Colton Orr, who was a bruiser.
He was
one. And you said
he was tough. Oof.
Do you think you had a hard time against him?
Yeah. But I'll tell you a guy very similar, Joey Kosher, who was a New York Ranger, long-time Detroit Red Wing, part of the Bruise brothers in Detroit with him and the late Bob Probert. Nobody tougher than those two guys. It was scary to go in their building, and I fought both of them once, fought Kosher a couple of times. Once in New York, he hurt my knee. He actually missed me with a punch, but the punch had so much leverage on it that I fell back funny and ended up tearing a knee ligament. That was the Stanley Cup year. Came back for the last 2 games. Doctors told me, the New York Ranger doctors, because it was in New York, said, you're going to be done. You're going to have to get operated on, because he felt the knee move. And he said, and I'm devastated, crushed, and it was painful. Went back to Jersey. They said, I give you a small percentage because of your work ethic, and I'm a guy that had a pretty good pain threshold to rehab it. Rehabbed it 7 weeks, came back for the last 2 games, put a knee brace on, was able to play with the torn ACL.
That's great. You played with a torn ACL?
Torn ACL,
I showed up hungover once, so we're kind of the same.
Well, thank God, and believe me, during the playoffs, it was killing me. But
yeah. I mean, do you feel it every time you move?
I did, but it was your adrenaline. You're so pumped. I knew we had a good team. We had a chance. We just lost that epic series to the Rangers in '94, the Game 7, as we've seen so many times here. But that was all part of our process. So I had to be part of this this run in '95, and you know, you fight your way through it. They said, if you can play, you know, I said, I'll play, man.
Wow.
Let me go for it.
And you probably regret it your whole life if you didn't.
Oh, I would have died.
Yeah.
I mean, I went through a lot of lean years in New Jersey early on in our career.
Yeah.
To have that opportunity to hoist the cup and be part of it, so I was so grateful.
You got to tell me the Pittsburgh story, because you started it and then we started rolling.
Oh, yeah. Oh, there's so many great stories. I mean, and back in the 80s and fan interaction, players were a little crazier, did crazier things, and no social media back then, obviously, and all that kind of thing. So everybody's a little safer, no matter with your words, with what goes on the bench. And so there was Brendan Shanahan, president of the Toronto Maple Leafs, very astute guy now, intelligent, but tough as nails too. And he was a kid at the time. And there's a picture, they got it right from the side bench of the photographer, where he's climbing over the Pittsburgh glass, and he's got a menacing look on his face, and it has me with my eyes just crazed, trying to hold him back. Me, of all people, trying to hold back. I was kind of trying, I think I was pushing him up, but he had beer spilt on him.
Wow.
Beer, and they were throwing all kinds of things. So he was going in the stands. Like back then, players just,
that's how cocky these fans were? They're going to go at Brendan?
Well, it was crazy, yeah. You know, it was just a different time, a different era. And so the Pittsburgh...
They poured beer on Brendan Shanahan.
Beer all over. They kind of got our whole bench, and that's when... But I was trying to kind of sort of curb Brendan from really going all out, and he had one leg over. He was ready to go. And yeah, you saw that in the Garden with the Boston Bruins. Remember hitting the Mike Milbury and the shoe over the head. Brendan didn't get to that extent, and I didn't want him to. So we needed him. I didn't want him to get suspended. But and Brendan and me still laugh at this day. It's been on Twitter. Even the last few years, fans have sent it because they still go, "What a great memory!" You know, fans they look at those things. Those things are as fun as goals, highlight reel goals sometimes.
Sure.
But the Pittsburgh Penguins organization, the PR sent a card. I'll never forget of the picture, a close up of Brendan and me looking crazed, and me holding him back, going to the stands, and said, during Christmas, they sent us a Christmas card, and the headline was, peace on earth and goodwill to all men. It was priceless. So we all got a laugh at it, but I thought it was pretty witty of the Penguin organization to send that pic.
That's pretty cool.
Some crazy stuff back then. I could go on and on, but I just... Some of the stuff we did on and off the ice, by the way. And we got away with it because, like I said, no social media. If I had social media, I would have lasted 3 years. 3 years. I played 20, I would have lasted three. For sure. There's no way.
Trolls are meaner than hockey punches.
Some of the stuff you see on social media nowadays about the guys partying or doing whatever, these guys are puppies. These guys are kids. They're on training wheels.
I got a tweet the other day from a guy saying, "I challenge you to a feud," and he spelled it F-U-E-D. I was like, you're not really worthy of a feud if you can't properly spell it. More with Ken Danyeko after this. Thanks so much, Ken. We're back on People Talking Sports. First off, Mr. Devil is joining us. He started more fights for no reason than my girlfriend after 2 drinks.
Thank you for the warm welcome. Great to be here again, guys.
Anthony DeVito, my co-host. He'll be at Acme this weekend, so some very lucky airport security guy's going to get a handful of this. And Jared Freid, third up. He'll be at the Comedy Cellar doing his J-Train podcast October 3rd. He like the real J-Train, he never goes to Brooklyn. I think it actually does go to Brooklyn. Yeah. It does. That joke doesn't work. First off, Dennis Rodman offers to straighten things out between USA and North Korea. Rodman on Kim Jong-un, he said, "We laugh, we sing karaoke, we do a lot of cool things together. We ride horses, we hang out, we go skiing. We hardly ever talk politics." Yeah, that's probably good. That'd be weird if he was like, "Hey, remember that time you fed your uncle to rabid dogs?" No? Let's do some karaoke.
This is how bad or weird it's gotten.
Yes.
That we're like, listen, Rodman can help.
Yeah.
We're screwed.
There's a piece of you that's like, well, he's got his ear.
Totally, man.
We can do,
That's a start.
That's a start.
Yeah.
We'll start with Rodman. He'll wear a wedding dress. Doesn't it feel like a 90s like shoot 'em up movie at this point.
Sure,
Like, where it's
yeah.
like, this is our last ditch effort. We
Totally.
got Rodman on the other side.
Yeah.
He's gonna do it. You know, and
That's
we're all
it.
sitting here like, okay, we got one chance.
Yeah.
He's it.
Yeah, that's our Hail Mary. Send in the worm. See what he does.
And I think you could convince Kim Jong to do some things. Like, you look deep into my eyes.
Well,
I'll do whatever the hell
I
you
may
say.
throw a few lefts at him, and that might set him down.
Dwyane Wade, the Heat said they would re-sign him as a bench player. It's a little disrespectful. You know,
Yeah.
it's kind of like, I mean, this guy, but first off, Dwyane Wade is too flat. His name's Flash. He's
Sure.
too flashy to be a bench player.
Right.
He's in this like fashion phase where he's holding man purses and stuff. You can't be that guy off the bench. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it's like when Eddie Murphy did Raw in the full leather suit. If he were an open micer, it would be like, that's kind of sad.
But he's got style, Dwyane Wade. You gotta
That's
love
my point. That's why he's got to be a star.
This is kind of like when, like, you know, a guy gets dumped by a girl, and
Yes.
she's like, I just want to be single, I want to be out there, I need to be free. And then she goes out and she's on Tinder and she gets ghosted a couple times. And now she's coming back being like, it's hard out there. I need to come back. And the Miami Heat are just sitting there being like, okay, you want to come back? Things are going to change.
You guys have a different take on a lot of things. I love that, and that's what makes this show special. But let me be the voice of reason.
Who would think Ken Danyeko would be such a diplomat? Have you ever watched him
No,
play
you know,
hockey?
I'm looking at it from an angle of these guys that have played at such a high level, the superstars of any sport.
Sure.
I've seen it with Brett Favre. I'm going to even say Marty Brodeur to some extent.
Yeah.
It's hard to hang them up or hard to step aside and not have a prominent role, but everybody ages.
It is a little sad, though, to see
is.
you know, your childhood superstars come back and be like, please, give me one more shot. You know, like, I mean, Ken, if you were here with like a walker, and you walk, and you were like, I'll do one more fight, I'd be like, come on, Ken.
The amount these guys are getting paid nowadays, I would absolutely, if they asked me to come back. I mean, and by the way, I would have fought Conor McGregor and Mayweather
At the same time,
once at the same time.
You heard it here.
For half the purse.
Ken Danyeko wants you, Kim Jong.
Up next, I mean, this is good. You're perfect for this right here. We got Marc-Andre Flurry. Usually, I mean, to see a goaltender move like this, look at this. I mean, yeah, the competition's not exactly fierce, but it's still pretty cool. Look at that. He's got moves.
If I had those hands, I would have scored a lot more goals. I wouldn't have to fight as much as you guys alluded to. And I played with one of the great puck-handling goaltenders of all time, again, Marty Brodeur.
Yeah.
He'd play, and we'd have scrimmage or shinny hockey before camp, and he'd make some of us look silly, the guys that had a little stiffer hands like myself.
Well, did he used to say that he would score more goals than you in a season?
You remember that? Yeah. We used to have bets before the year, yeah. It was a little embarrassing.
What was the bet for?
I don't really lunch, dinner, whatever, yeah, but a nice place.
This is what you should do to get your confidence up before a game. You should beat children. Like, think about, I don't mean physically, I mean in the game. Jesus Christ.
Oh, God.
Guys. You know what I'm saying? Like, if LeBron before the finals showed up at a JCC,
Right.
he's going to feel good going up against a super team, you know?
My confidence might have went down, though, because these kids might have schooled me with the one-on-one skill part.
You know that,
Yeah,
right?
but then you drop the gloves and they would run the hell out of that.
Yeah, man. I would.
So, I mean, I hate to digress, but I'll tell you a funny
Digress.
story.
Yeah,
Speaking
come on,
of
Digress.
fighting, so talking about that, so my daughter, who's 22 now, when she was
I gotta say, you would be the scariest dad to be brought home to, like, oh, this is my dad, and then you just
well,
stare.
she never brought anybody home.
This all makes sense, yeah.
So when she was 15 years old, never forget, I drive up to the high school to pick her up. I didn't always pick her up. Her mom did most of the time, and because I was traveling, doing things. So I picked her up, and they'd always be around a picnic bench. 10 guys, 10 girls, and all of a sudden I'd drive up and they'd scatter. All the guys would scatter. My daughter comes in the car, I said, you know, honey, well, why don't you introduce me to some of your friends? I'd like to say hello. And they go, Dad, they're scared you know what of you. They said they've YouTubed some of your fights. I said, good talk, sweetie, great talk.
Lenny Dykstra over the weekend tried to slide into the DMs of Lena Dunham on Twitter. Lena Dunham tweeted, we have it right here, I'm horny for baseball players, Wow. She said it like she was in the act of being horny, I guess, which is, she really sold it. But when she said she's horny for baseball players, you know, I don't think she's looking for a retired baseball player. It's not like she's like, where's Wade Boggs?
He shows up with 100 beers.
That's like, I mean, and then so it escalates, they go back and forth. You know deep down you want to be on a ride on this space shuttle. I mean, the sad thing is you know that line has worked before for him. You know that he's pulled that off to have that confidence. Do we have the tweet where she was disgusted? Do you sit around asking your friends, what's the least witty way I can revolt a woman? He probably does, actually. That is probably how he spends a lot of his time. Do you know Lenny?
I've never met Lenny. I'm a big Mets fan since young. I used to hang out with Darling and Cone in our crazy days when we were all youngsters back in the 80s. Love those guys still to this day. I will say about Lenny Dykstra, and you got to understand, he's just still in that mindset that he's 20 years old. Like, like we all think everybody looks at us the same way, and we forget that we're, you know, old enough to be their fathers.
Button, but for horny.
I'm glad there was no social media in my playing days.
Yeah.
I will tell you that right now.
Could you see yourself doing this?
Oh, no. And I was pretty wild. But I like to keep things a little more private.
Well, that's what the DMs are for. The DMs are for private, right?
I mean, this is. Lenny must have been the easiest catch for the FBI.
Sure.
The entire world. Like he's like DM, he's out there. When I saw the headline, I was like, oh, they must have just like been like, yeah, there's free couches, and he was like, hey, everybody, we're getting free stuff, and their friends are like, yeah, this seems like a thing. You're gonna get caught, and he's just like, no, we'll walk in. I'm like, oh, got him. Like it doesn't seem like he was a tough catch.
In 2 weeks, Carden is going to be texting Lena Dunham.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. That back and forth, that was better dialogue than I've ever heard on Girls. Didn't have that going.
Wow.
Don't you dare, audience.
Ken, you're perfect to analyze this fight that broke out at the Redskins game. Oh my God, look at that. That guy's getting wailed on right there.
Is this actual players?
No.
Or is this someone pretty big guy?
No, these are fans. Look at him. He's wailing on him. This is not good.
I used to tell my significant others, and even when my kids were little, when we played the Flyers in the playoffs, don't wear a Devils jersey and don't cheer for us when we score. Just stay calm. And that's no disrespect to Philadelphia fans, because they are the best.
Yeah.
I mean, they support their team, but especially back then in the mid-'90s when we had such a big rivalry with the Flyers in the playoffs and everything was at stake, they can get pretty rowdy, you know what I mean, along the way. And I'm not saying it's just them, because all fans get rowdy because they love their teams and support them, and they support their teams.
Everyone supports in their own way. Some people cheer,
that's
some
going
people throw batteries.
We don't need to do
It's got their own way of doing things.
Well, Redskins fans are kind of like kids with bad parents right now. Because like the front office is so messed up, they can't even like commit to a quarterback. You know, you can't even give them a long-term. It's like their dad is just like dating around with mom, like kind of keeps getting back together with mom a little bit, and they're just sitting there like, we have to act out. Right. We have to start fighting each other, because some of these fans have seen great teams.
Right.
So they know that it's. I gotta say the parent analogy, works for me, because it's like they've seen a good marriage.
Right.
And now they're watching this whole thing devolve into madness, and they're like, we just need to start punching each other.
But time out. I'm a little slow here.
Okay.
That was Redskin fans fighting Redskin
That was
fans?
Redskin
Oh
fans,
my, okay. That's a whole nother level. Well, wasn't it a scrimmage and it was a fan of another team?
No. It was two Redskins.
Things are tough. Times are tough.
And the other thing, that happened.
That went way over my head.
No,
They're fighting each other now.
they're fighting each other.
Because I can see when it's two other fans going at it, it's kind of understandable.
That happened, they were playing the Eagles. So you gotta imagine Philadelphia fans are being like, wow, they are unruly.
We're back on People Talking Sports with Liz Gonzalez, and another thing, before we get into Liz, we had to replace Ken Danyeko with his more adorable son. And Jared had to go. So Liz,
Not
what are we
bad
talking
stuff.
about?
Thank you. It's my father, Ken Danyeko.
Same haircut.
Basically. Well, I'm going to surprise you guys with some news on the Lena Dunham front. I know why that tweet went out. It was not for a Major League Baseball player, but because her boyfriend was actually throwing the first pitch.
Interesting.
So she's not crushing on any player. It's her man.
Not even Dykstra?
Not even Mike Trout.
I was not on for that segment, but I got to say I'm holding out hope for those two.
No, but that's the problem is you write that vague, cryptic tweet, you're going to get Lenny Dykstra coming for you.
Man.
Don't put out riddles.
Is that the expectation?
Man. Lenny's out there, and he's listening. You don't
You
get
gotta watch out for the
Dykstra.
DMs. Well, the NFL season has officially kicked off, and as such, so have the numbers. And NFL ratings, guys, not looking good. That first game, the Chiefs against the Patriots, a game that we all expected to have great numbers. It's the Super Bowl champs against a great team in the AFC. That is the lowest rating the NFL has seen since 2009, down 12% from last year. Should we be concerned about NFL ratings? We were last year. We did a lot of talking about it in 2016.
I'm very concerned. I've had a lot of sleepless nights. I think it's going to be fine. The ratings are down. It's a provocative time in the NFL.
I don't know though. I mean, I think it's gonna be fine, but it's hard. Like I kind of personally, my fandom has been challenged a little bit.
Yeah.
Like I watch a little less than I used to. It's just because like with every domestic violence scandal, with the league having such a backwards policy with medical marijuana, with
Issues
owners
near and dear.
Yeah, I'm a one-issue voter. And, when it comes to access, if you're anti-weed, I'm anti-you. But I'm less apt to go to a game and give one of these owners. I'm a Ravens fan. I think they should have signed Kaepernick. I'm less inclined when I go home to visit my family to pay and know Steve Bisciotti is getting my money because of this. I really legitimately am.
It's kind of like it's divided fans, I think, a little, because it's like kind of like the gun issue in the country. It's divisive. We know it's hurting people. We know it's a problem, but people like guns and people like football. So there's the people that are going to be really hardcore about it, and the people are going to be like, I don't know how I feel here.
The average NFL career is 3 years. You don't make that much money, and the amount of health problems you have after that. If the NFL had better health coverage for their retirees, I would be all over it. But they don't. They fought tooth and nail not to give these people who sacrificed their bodies so we could just eat chicken wings from 10 a.m. for 21 straight weeks. That's actually I'm actually a two-issue voter. It's
Chicken wing and pop.
It's so funny. Everyone involved in football is damaging their body. The people at home, the people playing.
It's a dangerous sport.
Yeah, exactly. The NFL should cover my heart medication when I turn 45. Then I'm on board.
Yeah, dude. If I just saw one doctor on the sidelines in scrubs, even if he's an actor, I would be like, feel better.
Well, it's funny. So that every single retired NFL player I've ever spoken to, I ask them, "You have children? Will you let your kids?" And they're like, "No."
Exactly.
Like, I don't want my kids playing football. And that's what you think about. So those kids, 10, 15 years, where is the NFL going to be when they grow up? And they don't want to play football
100%.
because they've never played it. And their parents did. So you would think it would be in their blood. But they're like, why don't you focus on baseball?
Exactly. I played 3 seasons of high school football, and I have a torn labrum that's just never going to get better. I wasn't that good.
The chicken wing motion is probably not helping.
Yeah, maybe that's the
The chicken wing motion, I think.
I have to eat chicken wings with my left hand now, okay?
Yeah, my kid, he's going to be a gin rummy player. We're going to keep it safe. Well, we didn't solve anything here, but it was a fun talk. People Talking Sports coming back this week. A lot of great guests. We got Jerry Ferrara, Ansel Elgort, John Wallace, one of our faves. Keep watching the show. Keep telling your friends. We're having a good time.